for the Gus Macker Committee to get all their I's dotted and their T's crossed so we can have this approved by law and have it done properly. I'm not used to late notice because I always do like to get this out in front of the public. Plenty of time, give them an idea of when the streets are going to be closed. Item 11 is to appropriate is $500 received by the city from the Division of Wildlife Step Outside grant. That grant, that money is going to be used for a 2-day camp in June and August to teach children the ages 13 to 15 fishing, litter prevention, and water safety. And that money's already in hand, and at the appropriate time I will motion to waive the 3 reading rule. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Henderson.
Thank you, President Schultz. The Finance Committee just received this afternoon a new ordinance at the request of the municipal court judges. And this is an ordinance authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $2.1 million for municipal court improvement bonds for the purpose of paying the cost and acquiring and improving a building for the municipal court use. This ordinance is the funding ordinance that will be a companion ordinance to go along with item number 6 on tonight's agenda. I would like to make a motion to waive the 3-day receipt rule and place this on tonight's agenda.
Second by Mrs. Ames. Okay, roll call on that motion.
Ames.
Yes.
Bonner.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Henderson.
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
Malone.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Prohl.
Yes.
Trutchell.
Yes.
Okay, that'll be item 16 on the agenda this evening.
Okay, thank you. And
first reading.
Council, this will go along with item number 6. We will still need to keep item number 6 at second reading. That is the authorizing a contract should council desire to purchase the East Main Street property, but this is the funding mechanism, so they will be in tandem. Item number 8 on tonight's agenda at first reading is an ordinance to purchase a new additional computer server for the fire department. Council will recall that we reviewed that last week. The Finance Committee has studied that, and we will ask at the appropriate time that we waive the 3-read rule and get this item ordered so that it can have time to be implemented and installed. Item number 14 at first reading is a resolution to adopt the budget for the city for the calendar year 2010, and there will be a public hearing on July 13th. This resolution will go all 3 readings, and this is a formality that we also sometimes call it the county book, where we submit our possible budget for 2010 to the county auditor's office. And this is required by law. Item number 15 at first reading is a resolution to accept the annual report of the Chillicothe Reinvestment Area's Tax Incentive Review Council. That is an annual meeting that describes all the community tax incentives that are reported on and reviewed by that council, and I expect that to go all 3 readings. And I will read the final paragraph from the honorable judges that council received this note that requested the funding mechanism for that. They said, in addition, they said, please note that we are still looking at the Carlisle building as an alternate site. We expect a feasibility study to be completed soon. When we have had a chance to evaluate it, we will be in a better position to recommend one building over the other. So they are still in the information gathering process, but they wanted the funding mechanism on the agenda so that, if possible, it will meet the terms of the contract purchase. That does conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bonner.
Thank you, President Schultz. The Human Resource Committee has one item on the agenda tonight, item number 12. This is an ordinance creating a part-time clerk within the Office of the Law Director. This was, the City of Chillicothe was awarded a federal grant which provides funding for a part-time clerk to assist the prosecutor with family and dating violent offenses. And this will be the first reading for that.
Okay,
Concludes my
thank
report.
you. Other committee reports? Okay, reports of city officials. Mayor Salzer.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of council. Just
touching on a couple items on this evening's agenda. Item 8, which Mrs. Henderson reported on, dealing with the purchase of the server for the fire department. I would respectfully request council to consider the suspension of the suspension of the 3 reading rule this evening and passage of that particular ordinance. This is something that's been hanging around for quite some time. This server is necessary in order to maintain the billing system that we currently, the city, does for the emergency squad services, and the amount of funds that it brings into our coffers each and every year. It's important that we make sure that we have equipment that is functioning correctly. So I would request council's favorable consideration for that this evening. Item 10, as Mrs. Patrick had reported on, was the Utility Rate Review Committee. This would be the second year in a row, I believe, Pat, that we have not increased the utility rates for the citizens of Chillicothe, for the reason not just because of the economic situation that we're in, but also because that looking at the revenue stream with the utilities department, that we feel that we could go throughout the year 2009 without any increase, and Mrs. Patrick chairs that committee and does an excellent job of doing that. I do have some announcements for the council as well as the public this evening. I did talk with the Ohio Department of Transportation regarding some of the resurfacing projects that they wanted to do within the city of Chillicothe. As you recall, at the last regular council meeting, I had indicated that the Department of Transportation was considering just doing 772, which would be South Paint Street, and Route 104, which would be High Street, in the year 2010, and had not indicated to us when US Route 50 would be done. But after some further discussions with them and some coaxing by the administration, the US Route 50 will be the first project, and that will occur next summer, 2010. The following year, 2011, is when US Route 772, or State Route 772, which is South Paint Street, and Route 104, which is High Street, will be resurfaced. Will require matching funds, and so when I receive the information that is going to be required to be acted upon by City Council, I'll be bringing that to Council for their consideration. Also, it's hard to believe that we're already almost to the middle of June, and which means that the 4th of July is just around the corner. We are still taking donations for the annual 4th of July fireworks celebration in Chillicothe Park. Anyone wishing to make a contribution can make that contribution by sending a check to the mayor's office or to the Parks and Recreation Department. On July the 25th will be the annual Mayor's Cup golf outing, which is not my golf outing, as some in the community still say. It is an event to raise funds solely and strictly for the Parks and Recreation Department. All monies raised from this outing go to the capital improvement needs for our city parks and recreation system. Finally, I did pass out this evening a copy, or photocopies, of the pedestrian footbridge, which is being constructed in Cambridge, Ohio, for all council members and the news media. If anyone from the audience would like to see that, I'm sure council members would be willing to share some of those photos with you. It is being constructed and will be brought to the city in stages, hopefully within the next couple to 3 weeks, at which time it will be put together over High Street. It will take some time yet. It will probably be the month of August before we actually see the use of that footbridge, because the concrete deck will have to be put on it and some painting and what have you. Also, I passed out to council this evening a copy of the 2009 street program for the city. Council will note there's only 8 streets on there, and it's very expensive anymore. Today, we're spending over $330,000 just for about 8 streets here within the city. So with the price of oil continuing to fluctuate and now increasing again, this is probably what we're looking at for the next several years. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Auditor?